So, as I was saying, that each of these are size of a byte. Now, if you talk about the timing diagram, if we just look at the very rough, very rough timing diagram that I did, obviously we will learn about timing diagrams, then we'll do them properly. But I'm just I gave you a rough timing diagram regarding how signals are going up and down, and clock is providing it with synchronization, and the signals are going up and down. And we have seen here that the operation code is coming in. Obviously, that's the first one. It's called the instruction fetch cycle, and then the data fetch cycle starts. The data fetch cycle can be 3 data, 2 data, 1 data, or no data at all. That means if it's an explicit instruction, there will be only one opcode only, and data are not necessarily given. So it will only have one instruction fetch cycle, and there will be no consequent data, or rather subsequent data fetch cycles. But in case of other instruction formats, it will be there. And each of these are one word. So as you can imagine, in this one timing cycle, in one clock cycle is this, obviously, this, this, the one clock cycle. So in one clock cycle, we aim to bring in a word. If that is not the case, then we have a lot of troubles. Because why? Because say if this is one clock cycle, and this is too slow for bringing in the word size. The word size may be something like, say, if it's a if it's let's say it's a 2 byte word size, 16 bits, but you only have a clock cycle that is good enough to bring in only 1 byte. That means only 8 bits. So as you can imagine, that is a very messy affair. As you can imagine, that is a very messy affair. So the designers of the computer must design it in such a way that with one clock cycle, one word can be brought in. Obviously, with several signals may be brought in at the same time. Okay, for example, when we are talking about memory, when we basically talking about memory, uh, here, or even we're talking about memory here. So the clock signal is coming in, and then there is a read write signal, then there is the address bus and the data bus and everything. So the clock signal might together bring in the read write signal and the address, which would be the address fetch cycle. And so you see, when that is happening, okay, so those will have to be the read write signals and etc. They'll have to be brought in at the same cycle again. So just not when one cycle happens of the clock doesn't mean only one uh, data bus is active, or only one type of data is brought in, or only one instruction is brought in. Multiple instructions can be brought in. So you can see that it is actually raising the complexity, that you need a bus or several buses to work uh, a tandem with each other, so that different types of data can be brought in. They're all obviously numeric data. One can argue that way, in the sense that they're all binary numeric data. In that way, all the data formats are the same, whether it's instruction or whether it's data, it's all the same. But it's a mother signal. It's also a digital format, so it's in zeros and ones. But still, all of these have to be built in before the computer can work properly. The clock working, and each time it is working, it at least brings in a word, and not just a part of it, but a word. Otherwise, it would be a very messy affair. I'm not saying that it cannot be done. Maybe I'm not a system designer, to be very honest. So I'm not saying that it cannot be done. But system designers would have it. It is very obviously. It's very. Uh, it's a common sense thing that you can imagine that if you are able to bring in a word at a time, it makes things so much easier for you. should build that also into account. When you're talking about the computer architecture, instruction set architecture coupled with the computer architecture, including the microarchitecture, which is the organization, you must make the circuits in such a way this is done. Now, so um, the, okay, so now let us look at how it works out. So, not to make things a bit more messy, so I'll just draw the thing in. It is the task of the programmer. So this is the CPU. It is the task of the programmer, so taking a binary operation into account, it is the task of the programmer to arrange the program in this way. As you can imagine, if you write a program in C, then it won't work that way at all. So what happens? The computer does not understand C. It has to be compiled. The object code is formed, it is linked, and an executable file is formed. In the executable, what happens? It is the executable is a series of instruction data, instruction data, or instruction data formats. The instructions and data, the instructions and data in there. It may, this is a logical arrangement. Physically, it may be so that the instruction part is different, the data part is different. The CPU brings instruction once and data again, and then instruction again, and then data again. Like that also it may happen, whatever it is. This is the logical arrangement, instruction data. This is for a binary operation. Now, when the instruction is brought in, as you have imagined, uh, as we said yesterday, circuitry is switched on or activated, and then the data is passed through the circuit to get the data. So a lot of things can happen in between. For example, a program is being executed. Some more important program may want to access the CPU, for example, antivirus. Then you have to interrupt the processor. Then some printing work or some other work may be done, for which, say for example, there is one part of memory. So this part of memory is your program, this is running. This is not your part of memory, but this is what you are wanting to print. This could be directed by your program or some other program. Now this outputting, for example, printing or outputting, this would require CPU access, and it would be very heavy on the CPU. So instead of that, the CPU uses a process called DMA. Have you ever heard of this process? DMA? Direct memory. Yeah. Okay. It is direct memory access. All right. Direct memory access has to be supported by the operating systems. That is a part of the operating system's architecture. But direct memory access is supported by all the processors, where a DMA request is given, and based upon the availability of resources and the authentication of the request, when the DMA access is granted, the device will access. So this is a printer, for example. When the processor allows it to, use this part, the printer can directly take data from this part and print out. The processor will not have to be involved in here. But obviously it has to grant access to this part first. So we need to have a DMA request like this. So various operations like this, and for example IO, input output, another thing. Now all of these, and let's say you are going to need one CPU or whatever CPU, you may have more than one CPUs, but all of them are involved in some task. Somebody is asking for DMA, somebody is asking for input output. So what do? You use controllers. As you have seen before, use controllers. Where the CPU is unable or it is not profitable for the CPU to do something directly, it uses controllers. This is something that we have already seen. I'm just, as I repeated. Now, the point is that these devices will have to be compatible with the CPU word size. If not, then under program control, the data that is being sent to these have to be dealt with under program control. That is, for example, if these are there will have to be at least a byte each. So if these are, for example, if the CPU is 2 bytes and these are only 8 bits, then the CPU will send it least significant byte and then most significant byte to these so that they can process it. When the computer is designed, the instruction set is determined. And let us say there is an error. And let us say there is something like, for example, there is a subtractor. There is something for multiplying. Now, how does it work? Basically, instruction is nothing but a code, numeric opcode. It is in zeros and ones. What happens is when the instruction comes in, let's call it I, goes to an instruction decoder. This instruction decoder has the task of choosing the proper line that would activate the proper circuit. Now, for example, if you send in 0000, I'm talking about a 1 byte word, 1100. Let us say if you feed it in, that you feed in 00001100, and let us call it combination 1. So when combination 1 is given, let us say this is line 0, this is line 2, thank you. So when combination 1 is given, let us say L0 is 1, L1 is 0, L3 is 0. And now this L1, L2 and L3. This is 1, this is 0 and 0. So this 1 comes to the adder to activate. So in this case, we'll say that the adder is activated by this. In other words, this is the opcode for the adder, or rather, opcode for add. Okay, this is how it actually works. The decoder will divide it. So you have got the input that is the binary input, and as it so happens, basically it multiplexes. Only one is 1 and the other ones are 0, and the 1 is attached to some sort of a digital arithmetic circuit, non-arithmetic circuit. When L0 is 1, it is connected to the adder, so the adder will be activated. When L2 is 1, subtractor will be. L3 is 1, the multiplier will be, so on and so forth. There may be division and other things. So when the instruction comes in like this, it goes on. So that is when we say that opcode for add is 00001100. This actually means that going through the decoder. Now this may contain, this is not, I'm just giving a logical diagram. It may have several layers of digital electronics in there, several layers of gates and stuff, whatever it is. But when you pass this through the decoder, the line L0, which here denotes the activation for the adder, is activated. So then the opcode for addition is 00001111. Okay, any problems with this? Any problems with this? So similarly, if you have another byte sequence 00111101, if you feed that here, this is the combination 2. When you feed combination 2 in, then L1 turns 0, L2 turns 1, and L3 is 0. Then we say that, so basically this is activating the subtractor circuit. Basically we say that this is a code for subtractor. So this is the uh, binary code for addition. This is the opcode, binary opcode for addition, the binary opcode for subtraction, so on and so forth. This is how it works. This decoder and everything else, so where will it be attached and how will it be done? The actual fabrication is obviously at the system development level, but the design of all of these happens way before that. So it happens right at the start when the when the architecture is being designed. This is the mystery behind the instruction code. That it is used in a decoder or multiplexer to just have one line as 1, the others being 0. Decoder actually, one line 1 and the others being 0, so that it can activate a particular arithmetic circuit. That is the mystery behind having a code that activates a computer's work. Now, is that